In this video, we're going to talk about bar and pie graphs. And a bar and a pie graph is a graph that is used to represent qualitative data. And if you don't know the difference between qualitative and quantitative data, you can go back into my videos and watch this video here. It's obviously going to consist of bars. It's going to have X and a Y axis, labels, and it also has to have a title. A pie graph, or more commonly known as a circle graph, has to have sectors that total to 100%, and it's also going to have a title and a label. All right, so I've just made up some data here. I'm pretending I have a class in front of me where this is the types of their favorite pizza. So we're going to use the data from the Do Now to create a bar graph. So let's make a bar graph of the favorite types of pizza in this class. The highest number that I have here is 10. And I know that I need to have 4 bars because I have 4 options. The other thing, and I forgot to put this in here, is that the bars don't touch in a bar graph. There is a different graph where there are bars that do touch, and that's going to be later on in the school year. And that's going to be later on. But for right now, we're talking about bar graphs, okay? So my highest number here is 10. I can just count by ones. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to label. It doesn't really matter the order that you go in. And these bars should all have even width. So you shouldn't have one bar that's wider than the other. And then at the bottom, I'm going to label what each one is. There is your bar graph. Here's another example. It says, in 2016, the data was gathered on how often regular Snapchat users post to their stories. The data below is based on a survey of 977 Snapchat users. Use the data to make a pie graph. So a pie graph is going to consist of percentages. And I usually, when I'm making a pie graph, I draw my circle. I like to start with the highest percentage first. So this is 35%. Now we can visualize what half of this pie graph is. And I usually like to split this into quarters just so I can kind of get an understanding here. So 35%, I'm just going to approximate, is around here. If I was doing this more accurately, I would say that the entire circle is 360 degrees, and 35% of the 360 degrees is 126 degrees. And so if I was doing this more accurately, I would use a protractor and I would say this is 126 degrees, but we're just approximating what our graph should look like. Now, I'm going to look in here at these other two numbers here. 27 is very close to 25, so I'm going to just go a little bit bigger than a quarter. And let me go in here first and label that this is how many people Snapchat on a daily basis. And I'm going to go in here and do a little bit more than this 25%. 29% is also kind of close to being a quarter. And then we have this 9%. So if I looked at this little piece that I have left over right here, I'm just going to take off a little bit. And I can say that this is a few times a week, 29%. And sometimes it won't fit, so you can just put it on the outside. This is never, and this is 9%. So in this next section, we're going to try to figure out what type of graph could be used to represent the data. And this is the eye color of high school stats students. Now, you can make a bar graph and a pie graph for this. I'm going to go ahead and do those, and then we can talk about it. So here's going to be my bar graph. Again, look at the highest number. The highest number is 64. I'm going to go in here and just count maybe by tens. So we have a few options here. We have brown. We have blue, we have green, and we have other. So I'm just going to approximate where is 64 on here. So here's 60, so let's say this is 64. And you might even see sometimes like a little number in here to let you know exactly where it's located on the graph. Blue is 23, so we can go ahead and put our numbers in here because we don't really have a very accurate graph here. We're kind of just estimating where these numbers are. And then green is 36. And other is 5. So that would be your bar graph. Now, in order to make a circle graph, the first thing you're going to figure out is what is the total number of students that is in this survey. So if I go in here and I add up all of these numbers, 64, 23, 36, and 5, I get that there are a total of 128 students. To get the percentages, I'm just going to take these numbers and divide them by 128. So 64 over 128 is 50%. 23 over 128, we can round, is about 18%. 36 out of 128 is 28%. And then 5 out of 128 is 0.039, which is 4%. Now I should double check and make sure that all of these percentages total to be 100, and in this case they do. So now I'm going to go in here and draw my circle. And this is a nice graph because right away half of the students have brown eyes. I'm going to go to my next highest number, which is 28%. Remember, that's a little bit more than a quarter. So green eyes would be for 28% of the students. And then 18% and 4% are left over. 4 is like a super, super, super tiny little slice of this pie. Again, if you don't have enough room, you can just throw it out here to the side. Other is 4%. And blue is 18%. Number 2 says the average heights of various animals in centimeters, and it gives me the animals and their heights. Now, in this case, it's a little bit tricky because this is giving you the average height of various animals. You don't know how many animals were in this survey, number 1, and number 2, this is the average height. It's not giving you an exact count or a percentage. So in this case, you're only going to be able to use a bar graph, and let's do the same thing that we did before. Now, these numbers are a little bit higher. So I'm going to say we can maybe count by 50s in this graph. So let's go with 50, 100, 150, and nothing goes over 200. Now this is just the average height of these 4 animals. So a circle graph is not going to be appropriate here. So the wallaroo is 105. And just like we did on the other one, let's go ahead and put these numbers in here because we don't have exact measurements. The eagle is 88. So we're approximating that it's there. The tapir is very close to 100. It's at 97. And the zebra is just shy of 150. It's at 146. Again, labels on the y-axis, labels on the x-axis, and the bars are not touching. That is probably the most important part about a bar graph. Number 3 is a little bit confusing because it says percentages, but if you look at all these percentages, they're relative to their grade. They're not relative to the entire school. So if they were relative to the entire school, then they should total up to be 100%, but they're relative to each grade. So even though you see percentages, we are not going to be able to make a circle graph. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. And we have our 4 grades. We have our seniors, juniors, sophomores, and freshmen that have driver's licenses. So 77% of seniors have a driver's license. 28% of juniors have a license. 6% of sophomores have, 2% of freshmen have a driver's license. Make sure you check out the other videos on different types of graphs for qualitative and quantitative data. That's all for this video. As always, if you found this video helpful, make sure you hit like and subscribe. You can find this resource along with many others on my Teachers Pay Teachers, which is Math with B.